Hello everyone and welcome to part 1 of Lamar Valley Light. Part 1 can be seen on YouTube and Uscreen, and part 2 and 3 will only be seen on Uscreen, so I hope you migrate over there. Part 1 this is a little different. We're working from a smaller painting that I did, a 9x12, and also a reference in which we added the mountains to it, because the mountains weren't in the first reference. So we had a lot of fun, and we laid in a really bright background color to cover the whole canvas before we got started. So you'll see why I did that as we go along. Okay, so enough about that. The important thing is for you to keep painting, and what I provide are references every week. But I'm not the only thing that can help you. You need to get outside and paint if you want to be a good landscape painter. Paint with your friends, paint from life whenever you can, and enjoy the process, the successes and the failures, because you always learn from painting. Okay, with that, let's get to today's painting. All right, bye-bye. Good morning and welcome to part 1 of our so far unnamed painting. So maybe something creative will come up in the way of a name during this session. And the lesson for today is how to make larger paintings from smaller paintings. And I did this 9x12 with a private student last week, and it really came out well. And I thought it would be a good subject to build on top of. Now, as you can see, I have a rectangle, and my canvas that I'm going to work on is, a horizontal type, this 11x22. So there's going to be some changes, and we're going to do some, add some ideas to all this as to what to do. This reference I have in your upper right-hand corner is from Yellowstone National Park. It's up in the Lamar River area as to where this, these rolling hills are. Lots of buffalo out there. But I'm going to put this painting off to the side and in such a place that I can keep an eye on it and get us started. So to get us started, I want to just go over, I've got the basics: blue, red, yellow. I've got a mixer, a warm mixer called Naples, yellow, and a cool mixer called Cold Gray. I've got my 2 siennas, raw and burnt sienna, viridian, and white. All right, with that, I've got, it looks like a number 10, an 8, a 4 filbert, and another 4 filbert. So I got identical stuff here, so I'm just going to choose one. And I've got my trusty T7 mixing knife. Okay, let's get to mixing. So I want to do some interesting stuff that I don't do very often, and is that to put an undercolor on all this. I want to get this exotic color that you see in the reference, or I mean in the original painting I put up, which is kind of an exotic color. So it's yellow and a little bit of viridian and some white. And it's going to go on very thin. Okay. So I'm going to get the old trusty number 10 out. Going to get a little bit of terp in it because I want this to be thin. And put this exotic yellow in here. Just going to cover the whole canvas with it. So again, the mixture I used was lemon yellow and viridian and some titanium white. If you're using permelba and other kinds of white, I think people kind of land on a white they like to use. I've landed on titanium pretty much for most of my paintings. I'm working on linen today. This is Clausen 66 that I'm using. Okay, so now that is done, and I want to clean this off my palette with my razor blade knife and get to drawing some shapes as to where they would be. But I want to kind of keep this thin. So I'm picking up with my paper towel. I mean, this stuff is so strong, you're gonna get the pigment, don't worry, it's not gonna come off. But what I'm doing this mostly for is just so it has less influence on the paints I put on top. It would have probably been better for me to do this yesterday and had this dry. But today we get to have the challenge of how this color influences what goes on top of it. Excuse me, I just dropped one of my brushes and I want to try to figure out now where these shapes are going to be. So let's just go mix a blue and a burnt sienna and white for a drawing color. Makes a nice gray. And it doesn't say gray, it kind of says gray. It's not a real strong dark. In the value scale, it's about in the mid-tone areas. Not too dark, not too light. So with that, I'm going to, and as you can see here, kind of trying to find a foundation line here. And I put mountains. I thought that the reference was, it's a nice reference, has a nice foreground design, but I thought I would add some mountains to it. And that's what I'm doing now. I might move this mountain over just a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to get rid of that first one. Alright, let me see if I can pick up any of my yellow and put that back in where I eliminated that area there. Okay, so now we have these background hills. And what I'm trying to figure out is just some of these designs of where the trees are. So I think I'm going to have trees up in here. And then kind of one stretch where they come all the way across. And then have some nice designs in here somewhere. Okay, then I have kind of another swath of different vegetation. I don't know, those are aspen trees I think in there. And there's kind of a meadow back in here, so I'll leave that. All right, so that's the meadow. Let's put some aspen trees in here. So we have aspen trees up in here and over here. And then we have some sort of a lead-in stream that comes down from here with some feeders into it. And I'm making a slightly more, darker, a little bit more blue, a little bit more burnt sienna. to indicate some foreground trees, and putting some over here for balance. And excuse me, I lost my reference on my screen. And kind of a big clump of stuff in here. And I'm going to make it even darker now, more blue, more burnt sienna, and get some idea of where this stream is going to come in here. Get some dark bases to these, these bushes that grow around moisture. And let me see here as I get back how this original drawing is looking. Looking okay. Okay. And now it's time for a little bit more refinement. Okay, so this is the upper trees. So let me get a bigger brush and start filling these things in a little bit. So lines are good for one thing, and that's to kind of lay things out, but don't rely too much on them till you get up, fill them in like this, and then make your judgment based on what they look like when they're filled in with a value. So we'll have some. So this is going to go back, and now let's get this foreground in. Let me get a little bit lighter deal here. I'm going to add some, just so I can tell the difference, I'm going to add some Naples to this mixture. And fill, this is going to be the aspen tree area. And I'll put more aspen over in here too. So I'm not going exactly what the reference says, but I'm working off more of a rectangle. And here I'm going to be more elongated, so I want to, and I'll put some clumps of aspen up in here in a few places, because I see that in the reference. And so now what I'm getting a feeling of is when I'm filling in my blocks, I can get a better sense of, are they wide enough, big enough, are they saying what they need to say? And I think they are. So far we're kind of heavy over here with these darks and these designs, and over here I have, on the left I have these mountains, which will be not real dark, but they'll be going back. But I think it has a nice balance between left and right. All right, so let's get some more blue. This time put a little yellow in it. And let's use this for this bush design coming down into the foreground. And by just kind of using these, adding a different color to it, it kind of helps define, okay, this is the foreground bushes, this is the aspen, this is the pine trees in the back. Just helps my brain kind of divide everything up. I'm just putting some other, this was just a big area and it needs something to go in it. So I'm making this up as I go. This design over on the lower right. Alrighty. Let's move this over and go on to our next value color. In part one in blocking, it's just kind of value and color and trying to fill as much of this painting in with value color as we can as we go along. So let me just see if I can get a few more darks in a few places. So I mixed some blue into that slop I had left over. And I see some other trees here and there. And I think there's some blue coming down here. Put that in. These are foreground trees. These are a little too uniform here, so I'll make one a little bigger. And I'll make these guys a little bigger here. And I think there's a few small trees back in here. Okay, next mixture. So I've got this slop, it's got a lot of blue in it. Let's see if I can use it, add some white. I may not have enough. Some more blue. And Naples. And Naples. And let's move to the background trees. Again, I'm putting this in thin, but I tried to clean my brush out with a little bit of turp, but I'm not making it, and then I dried it out, but I just want to get a blue back there. That's a little too weak. I'm adding more blue. And I think there's more blue right here. Okay, let's go with just an ultra now in white. Too much ultra. And let's put in a mountain design. And let's go in here. Oh boy, that's a little too strong. And let's calm that down. And put that in right up in this area. And again, I'm getting some interaction with the yellow down below, which would make kind of a green. Not too bad. I'm leaving some of this alone above because I want to put in a white for, snow or something like that. That's what this area is going to be. And in the foreground, let's make a warm color to emulate the foreground grasses. So we might as well move this off to one side and start with the Naples and a raw sienna. and a little bit of red. Boy, that is too strong. Let me start over here with Naples and white. Naples and white. Naples. And I'm going to throw a little blue and yellow in it for green. So it's kind of a dull, warm green. I better warm it up with a little bit more Naples. And let's see what this wonderful combination comes up with. I'm going to switch over to a 8 flat. And oh, that is pretty. I just hope I have enough of it now. I'm going to lighten it up, add more yellow to it. That's a little too bright. I screwed up that mixture. Sorry, let's start over. Start over here with a lot less of it, add some white, add some Naples, and warm it back up. Sorry, Jan, you lost your picture of my palette because I'm getting an incoming call. Jan is my Zoom student this morning. Okay, now we're going to add just a little blue for yellowing. And here we go. Good. Yep. Still not getting that mixture right. I apologize. So let me go back to Naples. The challenge here for me is working on this yellow underneath and getting the color right. So let me pick this stuff up and keep trying till I get this right. I think the best mixture is Naples, white, and just a little green is the best. But this value I want to be lighter than the aspen trees. How am I doing on time? Whew, I better get rolling here. But this is the last part, I think. I'm not going to cover the sky yet till later in the painting, not today, not in block in. And as I go back, which is back in here, I'm going to add a little blue to this mixture. And off camera, what I'm going to do is fill in all these little gaps right here with this lighter value I have. But I want to get in here to show you the mixture. So it's just a little bit of blue and a little white. And you can see here that it has more of a blue tint to it. Put some here, and I think I need it here and here. Oop, here we go. All right. I could probably fine-tune this with a smaller brush to get in there without too much contamination, but I try to get as much as I can in with these bigger brushes for block-in. Of course, block-in is not the time to be using your best brushes. I'm always stabbing them and loading them and pushing them. All right, so you get the idea here. I'm going to fill in this, but let's do one more fun thing with a small brush and get some white in up there. So let's just get some white and put some dabs of white in here to say, hey, something interesting is going to happen up in here. And that should bring us to the end of this session. Again, what I'll do is fill in all these little halos that I have showing through around these foreground lights, and then we'll get started again tomorrow. On Balance Day, we'll make things darker, lighter, and work on all that important stuff that comes in step 2. But for block-in, we've been successful in laying out where our shapes are going to be, and then adding value color. That's the point of today. Okay, y'all, thanks for coming by, and see you in part 2. All right, bye-bye.